Welcome to the stream, everybody. Um, I am happy to be back. Let's transition over. You guys can see my face if you care about that. If not, we can go back to the way it was. No, yesterday, I didn't, I had a rough night yesterday. Most of the night I couldn't sleep, and I basically had like an hour of sleep before I sent the messages yesterday. From there, I slept until about 1 p.m. So I don't know what was going on, but um, yeah, I struggled to sleep. I still got a little bit of something going on with my voice, but we're streaming anyway, and I'm glad to have you guys here. Just before the stream, you guys joined a little bit early. You probably saw me working in the background. Um, and right now, I just want to make sure that our lint and our tests all run. And once we get those figured out, we should be good to go. So it looks like our linters are all working. There was one thing that I wanted to talk about that I actually ran in today at work. Well, we still got an issue. The Vindy code feature, linting that. Okay. So we've got some issues here, but this is just leftover code. I'm not concerned. At least the linter is working, and we'll get that figured out later. So, you know, the vehicle details lint and the Vindicoder lint aren't working. That's to be expected. The code isn't actually in full working state yet. But our tests all ran. They all passed. So, wait, did it not run my tests? No, it didn't because I told it to run the tests target, not test target. We'll try again. There we go. Now we're seeing tests running. And it looks like our tests have all succeeded so far, which doesn't surprise me because we don't have a lot of tests, but that's definitely something we want to be doing better at this time. Yeah, welcome this Monday evening. Man, summer's almost gone. And my daughter starts school in like a week and a half. Crazy. So things are, I mean, it's just life is going by quick. Anyway, I wanted to talk about really quick. There's an upgrade. It seems pretty innocuous at first, but man, did it bite me today. And it's this one right here, the TypeScript ESLint. I'm still not going to version 9 of ESLint because I'm not ready for flat files. So that's the only one that we're going to wait on. Everything else will upgrade, but this TypeScript ESLint, let me show you. So if I do nx migrate, and here we'll just copy this stuff over to make it easier. So we'll grab this one first, and then we'll grab the other two also. So the parser and then the utils. I didn't expect for what will happen. It wound up being a little bit crazy. Actually, before we go into that, let's go, and you guys are seeing kind of what I discovered. But let's go to the TypeScript ESLint. I typed ling. I don't know why I do that. Like I can't type lint a lot of times. My fingers are just like, no, dude, you're doing ling. So I went here and I went to the GitHub. And maybe wasn't the right way to go. Maybe the docs have something in here. But I remember searching in the docs. Cut custom rules, typed linting, under maintenance, contributors. So releases here. So I went in and I was looking at releases, and there wasn't anything in here about breaking changes. These are more about what constitute a major versus a minor release and things like that. So then I went to the GitHub, right? And I went to the releases because this is a common way to do it. So I was looking here, and right, I was just looking for breaking changes. And I mean, there's some good stuff in here, right? Stricter parent types, they sped up type, right? But where was it? This is the one right here that bit me. I mean, there are other things in here, but this one wasn't called out as a breaking change. And it took me a while to figure out what was going on. And I'll show you what I ran into, and then show you, like, that's how I discovered it. Was I discovered this little mention here in the 8.0 features. But again, nothing in here talks about breaking changes or anything like that. I was like, oh, weird. And you'll see why this one caught my attention once I get the upgrade done. But I went in, and once I found this, I went to the site, and rule deletions, formatting layout rules, right? And so he says he deletes the rules marked as type layout as well as handling for them in the config and website tooling. Interesting, right? And then he confirmed locally that ESLint stylistic works, right? And that doesn't seem all that big of a deal. But let's see what happens, right? And I'm not calling, I'm right. I'm not trying to call them out or anything like that. So don't take it that way. These the ESLint team are doing this for free. They're maintaining something for the community. But I'm doing this more in case somebody else does what I did today, right? So here we go. Now I've got all of the TypeScript ESLint packages upgraded, right? So there we go. So the next thing I need to do is just make sure that I do the pnpm install with the no frozen lock file. And we'll run that. And then we're going to run our lint target because I was like, yeah, I just upgraded my linter. Everything should work. I'm hoping it's faster, right? So we'll just do pnpm exec nx run many, and we're just going to run the lint rules. And you'll see it scared me to death when I did this. And you'll see why. Oh, are you kidding? You're not going to break? There we go. There we go. But these were already the ones that were broken. So we did go to version 8. We're definitely on the latest version. Yeah, they don't show up there anymore. So I guess since nothing's broken, we'll reinstage these. And Make sure I don't type esling like I always do. I don't know why my fingers just like to type ing. I must type a lot of action verbs. Um, but let's go take a look. Go take a look at our eslint.rc. And it might be because there was a rule turned on. There's my eslint rc. We've got these rules running. Okay, so we don't have the rules turned on that were causing issues. And the rules were TypeScript, ESLint, no, what is it, extra, semicolon? And I think the other one is no extra semi off. I think I had this one to error. I believe was how it was set, right? And it's not going to do it for me. It's finding the TypeScript ESLint. It's very interesting. If we go take a look at the site that I pulled up, right? So it mentioned this stuff here, and then in the migration guide here, it specifically calls out that ESLint moved a lot of their stylistic stuff to this ESLint stylistic. And I think there's going to be like an ESLint tool that will take advantage of this in the future. But for right now, they're just moving their rules here. And part of that is just to make a lot of this stuff more community handled also. And that's here under the Y, right? Decided to deprecate formatting and stylistic related rules. And then they go into things like prettier versus ESLint. So there's some good stuff here. And this is just in the eslint.style is the site. Let me share that with everybody. You guys have it. Linting jump scare, right? Exactly. I'm just trying to scare you guys, Michael. And it was frustrating because this rule was broken, and I don't know why it's not broken for me now. But according to the documentation, it should be broken for me. Because if we go take a look under the TypeScript, there should be rules here. So no extra semi right here. So like this rule, and I think we had it turned off. I don't even remember why. So we've got this one turned off. And the other thing I did was I moved the JS and JSX the same thing because I was copying the same rules over and over again. Oh, I know why. we're missing plugin at ESLint recommended. I think that is. Let's go look this one up, right? So that's not ESLint recommended. And it's actually ESLint / TypeScript recommended. So I haven't enabled this rule, and that might be, and of course it thinks that I'm trying to go to a site, but I'm not. Did you guys know that there are URLs out there that don't have like .com in them? I just learned this recently. There are a couple of like URLs out there that don't have .com. There we go. So let's go. Maybe it's just in TypeScript ESLint. Go back to the code. We look at the recommended setup. Oh, here we go. I think I've already got this open, don't I? Right here. And go dark on this one. And so the quick start, so I think I need the legacy ESLint setup because we're still, so ESLint recommended. So we've got the parser, we've got the plugin, got TypeScript. I should be able to just do ESLint recommended. And plugins of TypeScript ESLint. I think I can just use the plugin strict or stylistic. So it looks like ESLint recommended we just grab it in the plugins. So here we can just do ESLint recommended. And you know what? Let's turn on strict for fun, right? It's TypeScript. Let me go just look again to remind myself. TypeScript-ESLint strict, and it needs to be plugin. Okay, so the plugins is TypeScript/ESLint, and the extends are the, okay. So we want this one here, and the plugins are going to extend. Where did I put that? Right here. So that one will fix, but here we want ESLint recommended. And here, this needs to be TypeScript ESLint. And I'm turning on strict just because I want to see what rules, like really, really strict TypeScript turns on, right? We'll clean it up and turn some of them down. But I want to see now if we go lint, what do we get? And I'm expecting some failures here. There we go. There we go. This is what I was seeing. So I went to go lint and I didn't have all 9 failing. I actually had like, I don't know, half the projects failing. But here I managed to get all 9. So this is the error that I was getting, right? No rule for TypeScript ESLint, no extra semi. And TypeScript ESLint, no extra semi was not found. So, I'm getting all of these rules and I'm going, what is going on? Right? Add an unused generic type to the function creating the signal store feature. Oh, hey, this is cool. This is really cool. I want to take a look at this one here in a second. Oh man, I spent probably 8 hours trying to fix the problem that this is trying to fix. So I definitely wanted to run into this one. I'm going to leave this in place so we can run into the error because I want to show you guys what the error looks like. But the NGRX signal store features, it's really cool that they added this. This is really cool. I need to enable this rule at work. But I'll show you what I found. But this is why I do recommend using linting. Maybe not as a way to control stuff, but very much so as a way to learn. And I really want to talk about this one. But I don't want to fix it until we run into the issue so that I can show you the issue. But we won't run into the issue until our state gets a little bit more modular and has more pieces in it. So I do want to show that. And I want to show what it looks like when it fails, because man, before I learned this trick, like we would run into these issues with our state when we compose signal features and stuff. And tracking down the errors could be very, very painful. But I do want to address this one, right? Because if you upgrade, you might run into this issue here where, TypeScript ESLint, all of these rules just start failing and they're like, it's not found, right? You messed up, they're not found. And I don't even know why this rule was turned off. I don't believe I did it. I think somebody else. But notice here, I actually expected this to be, so today, and maybe I just need to, let's try reloading this file, right? It's not marking this as being wrong. But this rule no longer exists in the TypeScript ESLint rule set. I don't know why it's not being caught here. I must have set something up weird. But let's fix it. And so it took me a while to figure out what was going on, right? And this is where I was talking about, I was going through the change log for the releases because I didn't find, there's a change log. I didn't find any, like breaking changes or anything like that. If we look at the change log is, the same stuff that we're seeing on the releases page. And so I was going through and that's where this remove formatting and layout rules, because I was like, wait, are semicolons part of that? And that's what led me to this, which then led me to the ESLint stylistic. And inside of here, they have a migrations guide. So if you run into this, go find the ESLint stylistic and follow the migrations guide, right? The approach I took was, let's just bite the bullet and migrate everything. It didn't take too long because we didn't have that many rules. But so to migrate to a single plugin, all we need to do is where is it? Yeah, we just install the stylistic ESLint plugin here. So we're going to copy this, and in our terminal, we're going to add that and then paste, and there we go. And so that's going to install the plugin that's going to fix this for us. And there are just a couple of things that we need to do from here. All we need to do at this point is change this over to stylistic. And that solves that issue. And then the other piece that we wanted to look at, so, right, we just change it over to stylistic. Oh, and it becomes semi. So this and that, right? We also need to add the stylistic plugin up at the top. And that's mostly it. So at the top, we also just need to add the stylistic. So there we go. We've now got that plugin in place. And now our linting should work. Really, it's that simple. You just go through, once you find the stylistic library, you drop it in place, and you replace the stylistic stuff, right? It is a little bit more strict on some stuff. So no extraneous classes. So we've got some extraneous classes for whatever reason that we probably want to take a look at. Well, I added strict, right? I didn't add standard, but recommended. But even recommended, I found to be a little bit more strict. So I had to turn down some of the rules. Yeah, like this require style import is forbidden. So like on our Tailwind config, so we want to clean that up. So that we're not causing errors in our CI/CD pipeline, right? And there's ways around this too. But the rules, so the parser is better. It got better, but because it's better, it's going to catch more of your stuff. And one of the cool things that it did is we actually had some code where people had intended to call a function, but they didn't put the function call on there. So it was just basically the rule that caught it was, hey, you can't have unassigned code or unassigned variables in your code, because we just had functions just sitting there not being called. So it was really, really good for us that, it caught it. It was better at understanding code, but it is a little bit more strict. So we'll go clean up some of this stuff, right? So we'll take a look at that one. But that's really all it takes to fix it. And then, you might have some broken TypeScript rules. There's one other thing to be aware of, and it comes down here. And I had to do this, but if you've got like something that has it potentially has rules that, it's got TS-lint rules that you don't have control over. Um, so NX can do this sometimes. Just add this to your code, and you should be good, right? So here in our rules, where did I put those? Force module boundaries. Here, no, those are the plugins. Oh, yeah, no, here it is. All I had to do was just add that rule, and that fixed up the other rules that might have been causing issues. I don't have any of those. It's not telling me that none of the rules exist, so I don't need that in my code. So I'm not going to add it until I need it. But you can disable legacy plugin rules too and use the stylistic ones. Did I need to add stylist? I forget. Do I need to add here? So here we just replaced it. We did this plugins, so we don't need to add it to the extends anywhere. Yeah. And if you want to go more granular, you can migrate specific packages and stuff like that. So, the migration guide's actually pretty good, and I give them props on that. I just wanted to call it out today that, oh no, I broke all the linting. I was so scared. I was like, I'm just gonna roll this back, but I decided to do just a little bit of digging. But let's take a look at some of these lint rules and see what's going on, right? So like our checkbox directive. Um, Checkbox directive here. It's telling us that we can't have extraneous classes. Oh, it doesn't like this? Oh, that's interesting. We've got an empty class here, but it's not really empty because we've created a directive and oh, that's interesting. What happens if I do something like intentionally empty? It doesn't care. Um, so no extraneous class. I wonder if there's a rule that we can use to turn that off. Um, and I get so used to like the terminal copying and pasting that I find myself sometimes not copying and pasting properly, um, which is a hilarious problem to have. But let's go take a look at the rules. ESLint plugin, TypeScript ESLint. Inside of here, um, where are the rules? Right here. So we are going to look for, what was our rule? No extraneous class. So here we go. So it's the strict that turned this on for me. So here, oh, they've got just static stuff. Yeah. Um, so those would get marked, and instead they're saying, hey, just use functions, right? Um, individual exports, instead of using a static. Well, and there's a good reason for this. It's easier to tree shake, just in general. Namespace imports, ooh. Um, yeah. So allow constructor only, allow empty, um, allow static only. Okay, so allow with decorator, that's the one we want to turn on. That's going to help us. All the other ones we want it to catch. And so allow with decorator. Yeah. So we want to turn this rule into an allow with decorator. So we will grab this rule here, and we're going to copy that. And we're going to go to our ESLint RC, and inside of here, we are going to add this one. And we are going to say that, yes, this is an error. And we are going to allow with decorator true. And that should fix up our issue, right? So now our checkbox directive is no longer. And so this is the kind of stuff that that I was doing today, and it does take a little bit of time, but it's always good to make sure your code looks good. Combined component. That's an interesting one. I don't. Let's look at our combined component. Combined component. Oh, so it's another empty class, but it's not really because we're using a template. And that's why we're allowing it with a decorator, right? Because Angular is a little bit different. I feel like this one of those rules that doesn't consider, yeah, and that can happen, right? Angular Angular can be forgotten, and sometimes we have to go raise our voices a little bit. But typically they'll handle us, and the overrides definitely considers, right, being able to say, hey, with a decorator only, we're good. Solves that issue. Um, so here, this one is really like, I love that this is here. And I think this was added in the latest upgrade. Oh man, this rule. You guys probably saw me tweeting about it with read your documents. Um, but let's fix up the tailwind config, right? Require style is forbidden, so no require imports. There's another rule that we can add here. So if we search for no require imports, so right here, there are a couple of rules that we can use here to fix this up, or a couple of things we can do here. So this is the one we want right here. We're going to allow our TypeScript to be that way, but everything else we don't want. So we'll go here and let's add our rule. And it's our at TypeScript -ESLint /no -require No requires import. And right now we've got that set to error. We don't want that. Instead, we want to allow specific one. And what we want to allow is not package.json, which is fine. But we want ours to be tailwind dot config dot json. And now if we go look at our tailwind config, oh, and it's .js, not json.js. Which makes sense, right? Because we're in the .js rules. So now if we go take a look, and this is just a like a regular expression, right? So we're looking for this, and then the $ just says it needs to be at the end of the file, right? So now if we go take a look at our Tailwind config, we'll see that all of our, so like these require imports. Oh, it should have, no. Require is not defined, no undefined. Oh. No require imports. I fixed that. Definition for file, a TypeScript ESLint, no require imports is found. What does that mean? So we've got the no undefined. To get around that one, we would need to enable node in our TS config. Curious why TypeScript ESLint no, oh, it's no require imports. There we go. So I put in the wrong error, right? No require, yeah. So now the require stuff should go away. Maybe. Let's try opening it again. The require style import is forbidden. That's interesting. So we've got this on there. TypeScript ESLint, no require imports. Let me just copy it and make sure that I've got the right rule. So there we go. Let's get the right rule and not the one that I just tried to change. And that one works. We just run the linter just to make sure. And this, I don't know. Sometimes this stuff can be a little bit time consuming and frustrating, but it's a better developer experience, you know, when you go in and you clean up all the mess, and especially if you've got people who well, you know what? Let's just change this to a blob. I think that will work. Invalid regular expression. Okay. Okay, you got me. Tailwind.config.js. You know what? We don't even need this slash here. And we want the $sign on the end. We can fix up the no. So the no undefined, we can fix that up pretty easily if we just go into our tsconfig.json here. And inside of here, all we need to do is add our node. I believe it's just node true. And that will fix up the no required or no undefined. Because it should come from no. Oh, it's not in the compiler options. Is it? We can go look at the tsconfig.base. So import helpers, module resolution is node. And this is the one specifically for this project.json. What's interesting is that my jest config doesn't care. It's just my tailwind. And I think I just set no true, but let me go look it up. I can't remember how to do it. So ESLint Node.js no undefined. Um, yeah, so these ones here. And maybe it was in the rule itself where I found it. Um, this one comes from there. Now this just tells me about the rule, but I know, and maybe it was in a. Maybe it was in an issue. Oh, there it is. Globals. So it's in the ESLint where we tell it, hey, we've got certain globals. So it's not in the TS config. Um, so inside of our ESLint, we just need to add some globals to it. We'll do that, globals. And here we can just set node JS to true, and I believe that should solve it. Did I set it up wrong? Don't use the no undefined rule in TypeScript files or projects. Who's this guy? Except this is in a JavaScript file, so here, where was the global stuff? Node.js true. Let's try linting instead. Maybe we're using a cached version. And so let's just make sure that I haven't actually fixed it with the stuff that I've done. And sometimes, your editor might be working against you. That one I expect to see there. And no, these are still there. Is this another it's another case of corrective selector, component selector. Um, Here, like it should be picking it up from below, but let's just see if I add globals here and we set Node.js to true. Require is not defined. It even knows what, like right here, ESLint doesn't know, but oh, It is a Node module, and require is a Node.js require. Um, these are coming from Node. Do I have it in the wrong place? This one's saying for module. So it looks like I also need to add modules here. Does that fix it? That fixes module. Doesn't fix require. Do I have node wrong? Should it just be node? That comes from node. Let's go take a look. So adding node fixed that one. Um, module true. True. Let's go take a look at the ESLint RC inside of here and configure ESLint. Have a, yeah, globals. That's not the one we're looking for. Globals. Search for ESLint RC. Oh, let's go back to 8 for globals. is all in the blog. Configure ESLint configuration files. So configure specifying files to ignore, cascading. Global linter options. They have configuring global variables. So language options globals. Oh, no. Predefine globals. Configuring shared settings. They don't have like what is allowed in the globals variable here. Specifying environments. This is what we want here. Oh, it's not globals, it's env browser. That's what we want. We want this env. And now that we've got env, we can say browser node. Yeah, we can say browser and node. That should fix up our tailwind here. That fixed that. Now it's just the require here. No require imports. Tree shaking. It's enforcing the module boundaries. So here we're enforcing these rules. If I just turn this rule off, does that, or if I turn it to a warn? So it did change it to a warning. So it is working, but the rule itself, it's not. So no require imports, options. So allow Oh. I remember. I remember. So for this one, I set it to an error. Um, and then what I did is I came down here and I actually did one for files. In here, I just did um, tailwind.config.js. Um, and I added my rules and I turned that off. And that is not the right rule. Thank you for the try there. I was gonna say thank you for the shot, but so now it's off. So now in my Tailwind config, yeah, that's right. So it's not that allows you to do specific imports, but I actually want to allow this file to use that. Okay. I think the better fix is to change the config file to use a CJS extension. This could very well be WebStorm's ESLint integration itself. Have you tried with VS Code? I have tried with VS Code, and I had to do the same thing. So you're saying to change the Tailwind to be CJS? Let's try that. Should have been paying attention to my chat. Welcome, Chow. Thank you for the help here. So let's go ahead and we'll take this out for just take this out, and we can verify that hey, right, we're broken again. And you're saying to use the CJS extension, so we'll go here and we will change this to be CJS. That works too. But do I have, if I search for tailwind.config.js, I already had something in here for that, huh? That's the only place it's mentioned. Let's go ahead and lint this again and just make sure that our linting is all fixed up. And I didn't expect to be fixing linting rules today. I got sidetracked. But I wanted to show you guys some stuff that I've run into. I really want to get into this store feature here because that one is really cool. Keyword const is reserved. What? Of course it's reserved. And so these two I still expect to be there because we haven't used them yet. But why does Tailwind config tell me that const is reserved? Like I know it's reserved. What is it saying here? Yeah, I totally agree. You're right. It is reserved, and we're using it the right way. I don't know that I want to dig into this one too much. We'll figure it out. Um, I have so many. All I did was I just turned on. I turned on strict. I might turn off strict. Um, linting modular state. Is it not seeing CJS as being, I don't even know what this is from. Is it because I renamed it to CJS and the ESLint doesn't, like I'm not, can I add star.cjs here? I don't care about NGRX really. So if I add that, does that fix this issue? I'm I'm ready to just put it back and put my rule back the way it was and move on. It's just sometimes linting gets in the way, sometimes it doesn't. Um, I mainly wanted to show you guys some stuff that I ran into today. No, I made it worse. Yeah, because now it's saying, hey, that's forbidden. Um, let's just go rename this again. Whoops, that is not the right key to hit. Neither is that. We'll go ahead and rename this. And then we will go back here and we'll take that out. And we will actually, if I just go back a little bit, here we go. That should fix that up. There we go. We're good. Because I wanted to get to the ones that actually are interesting here, and the ones that, yeah. I turned on strict because I wanted to see what was in strict. I'm beginning to regret that decision, but we'll see, right? We'll stick with it. You know, a little bit of pain in your streamers is entertaining, right? Don't do this at work. It's okay for me to do as a streamer because me going through a little bit of pain is entertaining, right? Well, maybe you guys are bored, but this is the rule that I absolutely love. And this one is awesome. So let's go take a look at our vehicle detail store. My VIN decoder feature has errors in it. Doesn't exist on type unknown. Oh, we may be getting it already. How is VIN type unknown? VIN is a signal. So here we just said that, hey, decode VIN is an RX method. But this is the error that that's really interesting to me. Here, if we just go with an underscore here, that solves the issue here. And the issue is that we've got this state. So like this constant declaration here is what forces the need here. If we were to take this and comment it out, it goes away. It really comes down to the fact that, hey, we're saying, hey, we've got a constant declaration of a certain shape of the state. And so let's go take a look at are we using this? We aren't using it anywhere yet. So let's go take let's go to our app component where we're composing the state. So here we've got our vehicle store. Let's go take a look at our vehicle store. And our vehicle store has with vehicle info, with vehicle details. If we go take a look at with vehicle details, you'll see that we've already got, we've got this state on it already. So we might be able to trigger the issue that that I'm talking about. Let's go back to the app component. Let's go back to the vehicle store, and let's just add with VIN decoder. And we'll go ahead and import that. Oh, I need to add this to the export. So let's go find our VIN decoder feature and go to our index.ts. It is there. So is it in our tsconfig.base? It is modular state VIN decode feature. So it is there. So well, that's a horrible import. Yeah, modular state. There it is right there. Is not a module. Okay, let's go take a look at that index file. So back to our VIN decoder feature. Let's go to our index.ts. That looks like a module to me. Let's go take a look at our tsconfig.base. Maybe that file doesn't exist. So modular-state VIN decode feature, libs features, VIN decode feature source index. Libs features, VIN decode features, source lib feature index. So it's in the wrong place. So tsconfig base. So this, where was it? VIN decode features. This does not exist. It should be source lib. Where's that again? You know what? I could just copy path reference. And that works. And then here, we'll just use the expanding feature and paste that in. That should fix that. So now that works. And it's not with VIN decoder, it is with VIN decoder. Oh, the side effect stuff. This was the ESLint rules we were playing with last time. There are definitely side effects to importing this, so yeah, we'll ignore that. But we're not getting the issue, which kind of sucks because I wanted to show it to you guys. But let's go take a look here. We'll just copy this um, because they do a good job of explaining it in the documentation. So let's go there and let's go back to NGRX and like when I found this, it was it saved me so much time. Um, so here in custom store features, this mark right here, I got you fixing linting errors. That's okay. I like to use linting again, and I'm going to tell you guys this, right? Don't be super strict with your linting rules at work. Just have the ones that you guys agree with, and then keep those on. But a lot of times, I don't know, things like I like to use the linting rules more as learning. So oftentimes I'll set my linting rules to info or warnings, um, because I don't want to hold up like PRs or MRs, right? Whatever you guys call them, merge requests or pull requests. Um, but what I do want to do is learn myself. And if there are people out there that want to learn, then maybe teach them, right? So if it's an error I don't care about, but it's something that I'm learning, I typically will set it to an info. If it's an error that I think is a little bit more serious, I might set it to a warning. But I don't want to be like really, really strict. And there are people out there that disagree with me, but they're wrong. So anyway, so here's the issue that we're trying to reproduce. And I don't even know if this one will cause the issue. Let's see if this does cause the issue. So let's copy this. Let's go ahead and paste this here. We've got our with Z. Yeah, so we're not getting the compilation error. Maybe it's because it doesn't know what these are. So let's go ahead and import them. There we go. Grab that. We want that. And there we go with state. Oh yeah, it does generate it. So you'll see here that store, and that's fine. But notice the signal store is underlined here. And the error you'll get is really ugly. So they were able to generate it. I was trying to do the same. What is going on here? Oh, it's just telling us side effects. I may turn off that side effects one. So provide app state, vehicle store. These are my providers. One thing I could probably do is sometimes moving stuff around will cause the issue. I'm inside of the with computed. I don't want to be here. No, I'm still not getting it. You should be able to compose these in any order, and that should be fine. But here we've got this error, and the error is ugly, and it's huge. And WebStorm makes the error a little bit easier to understand. Oh wow. So already I love this WebStorm thing here because it's not, well, and maybe it would shorten it. These aren't very long, um, but this is very nice here to be able to see what it's inferring. So the signal store is inferring that, hey, it's got a state of X number computed, and then it's got a state of Z number and computed, and then a state of W number and computed, state of X number, right? Z number, W. Um, is that the trick? So W here, Z here. So they're relying on each other also. Um, so we get X, Y, and then we add Z and W, and W depends on Y, and this depends on Z, but it's also providing state of its own. Anyway, the error is really ugly and it's hard to parse because you'll get, hey, overload number one doesn't work because, right, state blah, blah, blah. And then it's telling you, hey, the inner state this is not assignable to type inner state this, and it is not assignable to type this. Properties of state signals are incompatible. Property Y is missing in type this, right, but required in type this, right? So this is the error you will typically see. And the way we would solve it before I encountered this issue, and if you've worked with Signal Store, you've probably run into this. Man, we would do all sorts of crazy stuff. We would start grouping Signal Stores together, and we would start changing the order that they showed up in, and just all sorts of crazy stuff um, because of this compilation error, right? And then two, talks about, hey, the state has nothing in common with this, and three says, it's got nothing in common with this. So really, one is the one that matters. But like this error message, property Y is missing in X and Z, but required in Y. Well, it's not missing in X and Z, right? It's not inferring Y, right? Because we can see it's provided right here in the with state. But the error message says, right, X signal, Z signal, but required by Y signal, right? And absolutely it's required by Y signal here. But it just, because this is an X, right, and it's providing state Z, it's changed the shape that's inferred here. And maybe that's the way we could do it here, right? Curious about why this one works and the other one didn't. So vehicle details requires a VIN. And let's go to the VIN decoder because we know we're going to need a couple of other things. We know we're going to need a year, and that will be a number, a make, and that will be a string, and a model, and that will be a string, right? Let's see if that triggers the issue in our store. One of the things that I really like about VS Code is that it shows me the open files here. That's the feature. Where's my vehicle store? What did I call this file? Store.ts. That's why I couldn't find it. No, it's still not. So the details is looking for VIN. Oh, but it's not adding state, right? Oh, it is. It is injecting state. The vehicle detail state. What's in here? So this has the color and all of that stuff. I'm trying to make this work. Let's see what happens if I do this. And then I go back to store.ts. Yeah, it's still not giving me error. I don't know what triggers it, and it's really hit or miss if you will trigger it. But once you do, it's very frustrating, right? Because what we would do, like try to solve this, is let's do that. And like we would try all sorts of different things. So one of the things we would do is, hey, if we move W and Z around, what happens? Doesn't fix it. Okay. So then we would do, function, um, fix stores, right? I don't have a good name for it right now, but this will return a signal store feature. And this signal store feature is going to require, right? So it wants a state of type X and Y. Yep. And then we would take these and move them up here, right? And so now we can add in our with, this would be our, what did I call it? Fixed stores, right? And so now this one's not complaining, but look at this one. It's now complaining, right? So unused generic type. Oh, actually, no. So without the unused generic type, we're good, right? And that's the frustrating thing, right? Is that we would be doing all of these weird permutations. And imagine as your signal store grows and there's more and more things, and we would keep doing this over and over and over again. And it just got so frustrating. And these could take hours to fix, right? So let's put things back to the way they were. And let's take this out of here. And, what is the fix? Well, the fix is just to do this. Right? As soon as you add this generic, suddenly it doesn't matter, right? If I move W above with state, then it should throw an error. It's not. I thought it should because W requires state Y. If I take this out, it will throw an error, right? No, it's not. Why isn't it throwing an error? Um, like W clearly needs Y to be a number. Something's very broken here because I'll bet if I try to compile this, pnpm exec nx build And we'll build just the modular state. This should fail because W is before where the state is set up. And W relies on there being state like that. Yeah. So you can see that the with W shows up before the with state, and so it should be throwing an error. If I move this down, and then we go build it, now it should just build, because, and I'm really curious why I'm not getting that error. Yeah, see? Now it builds. But like if I were to take Y out of here, oh, now it's throwing the error. Right? And now the error makes more sense. Like Y is missing in this type, right? But required in this type. Okay, that makes sense, right? So what if we take W and put it at the beginning now? I also don't know why it's something's going on with my prettier here. Actually, we've got some errors here. Those are just ESLint errors. But this should definitely be throwing an error. If I take this out, that is so weird. That's really a little bit annoying, to be honest. I don't know why that is the way it is. Because the type is wrong. And like my prettier formatting is also really weird here. I wonder if it's the it stores declared but not used. What if I export it? Now prettier will format it, but I'm still not getting my error here that I should be getting. I don't know. Anyway, if you run into this issue, right? Like if we take these out, um, you're gonna run into this issue, right? Where you're just gonna get this ugly error. The property X is missing in type Y and W, but required in type X signal, right? If I move that up, now the error it gives us is property X is missing in type W signal, but required in X signal. Wait, what? That even got uglier, right? And that's the problem. Is that these error messages don't make sense, right? Like X is missing in type W signal, but required in type X signal. Basically, it's telling us here that it's inferred the state to have a W, but this one requires state to have an X on it, right? And so if we add that just empty underscore, and I'm curious where, yeah, so it puts it in the same spot. If we tell it to ignore that one. So now, right, this is so weird because it should be complaining here. Oh, look at the type on the store. Oh, am I shadowing? Let's just rename this to be like silly store, right? Or something like that. Look at that. But we're still not getting the error. But just adding that single generic can fix this up, right? So if you run into this issue, adding your generics to your file um, will fix up the issues, but I don't know why. So like this is now broken. Can I restart my language service? Let's just see. Restart TypeScript service. So now we get our error, right? So I must have put TypeScript in a bad state. But here we go. So this is the error that we expect to get, right? And it's on the right place. Once you add in these generics, then your errors start to show up in the right place. So if I move this back down, that error goes away. If I remove the Y here, then the error shows up here. But it's more a property of TypeScript than it is a property of the signal store. It's just trying to get these types correct. And that's one of the tough things about libraries in general, right? Is trying to get these types correct can be a bit of a nightmare. Um, so, oh, Michael, I missed it. Like this error. Yeah, the exact tip, right? That was the one I was trying to show, and that was the one in the docs, right? It's just understanding that when you run into these, one of the quickest, like I'd spent 8 hours trying to fix up two files because we had just so much stores and state composed, right? Um, as soon as I learned that tip, um, then boom, this fixed everything across the entire project, and I did it in like 5 minutes. Um, what's even crazier is let's clean this up because we don't need it, and we can get rid of our store. But what's even crazier is that with this lint rule, oh, hey, oh yeah, so it wants my feature to have stuff on it, right? But so the reason I was excited about this lint rule is that I saw that this lint rule included fixes on it, which means that if I had this version that has a lint rule in it, I could have just gone pnpm exec nx, and we'll do a run many. We'll target linting, and we'll pass in the fix flag, and that should go through. And any lint rules that it can fix, it's going to fix for us. You learned it from something from Rain. Man, I missed that one. I wonder where you learned that. So there we go. So the downside to this is that underscore is defined but never used. Um, but we can fix this rule too, right? So here we go. We've got underscores defined but never used. Um, and we can go take a look at this rule, right? No unused bars. So if we go to our linter, and that is Krita, which is what I am using to do images and stuff. This is a cool tool. It's completely open source, but it integrates with like Comfy UI and stuff like that. Oh, anyway, um, so if we go take a look at this rule, um, no unused bars. There's a way to say that underscore is allowed, right? Um, you'd like to emulate TypeScript of exempting names with underscore. Um, so this is the rule that we can copy. I kind of wish that they would just start with this one um, and allow you to change it. No unused locals and no unused parameters. So we're going to go into our ESLint RC. And inside of here, we're going to go find this one. And we're just going to paste in the rule that we just copied. I grabbed all of it. I need that one. I need that one. Does that fix it? What have I done here? Got an extra one of these. And an extra one of these. Ah. So muscle memory is very much a thing. And it gets me a lot just moving back and forth between different keyboards. So now if we go run this lint without the fix, but like with that rule, you could run that lint rule and then run the fix and have all of your signal store features fixed up in 10 15 seconds. Yeah, and that you know I kind of wish I had that rule. I need to go check if those rules are turned on because they're very helpful. So now the only issue we have is Vin is defined but never used. Everything else, we're all good. And see, I wish I don't know. Underscore's fine. What I was going to say is I wish there was a way to set the, instead of being ignore, um, to set this to be a warning. So, I could say that the underscore ones are warnings and everything else is an error or things like that. That would be really cool, but um, it's not a big deal. And so now if we go take a look at our store, we should see here, like this feature, right, has the underscore in it, and it's fine. So kind of an interesting rule to learn about. Wow, I spent the entire stream talking about linting. Um, some very important things I learned today that I definitely wanted to share. You know, um, and I don't want people to get the idea that we're complaining here. I don't think that this um, I don't think these things are on the maintainers. And especially with like the NGRX signal store thing, where we've got a lint rule. And one of the things that I do want to call out, because I'm going to end here pretty soon, is NGRX has in the developer tools this ESLint plugin. If you install this ESLint plugin, you're going to save a whole bunch of headache when you're using the signal store. And to configure it, you just, you add it and then you enable it through the @ngrx plugin. And I believe that's it. So we've got these no side effects when called. I actually think I'm going to turn this one off. It was an interesting experiment. You know what? We'll put it back, but I'm going to turn it from an error to info. Or no, I don't think you can do info, can you? Does info work? If I take this out now, yeah, info doesn't work, but I can set it as a warning, which is a little bit less intrusive, right? And I don't want my whole files to fill up with like these comments. I'm fine with things turning a little bit yellow, and really, we could even make the rule a little bit weaker in WebStorm if we wanted. I think there is a way to turn these into info in WebStorm. Here. I don't know. And maybe I'm just imagining things, but we'll leave it on. That's one of the things to be very, very careful of with like ESLint or any of your other tools, right? Don't make your tools oppressive to the people who are working in the code, right? You may like things a certain way and it may be comfortable to you, but as the team grows, and especially at like big organizations, as more and more people are there, just because something is comfortable to you doesn't make it comfortable to everybody else. And sometimes what everybody else is comfortable with, if it doesn't cause problems, maybe you're the one that needs to adapt, right? Don't be rigid and don't try to force people to do what you think they should do. It's just part of being professional, we'll call it, or just being a good human in general, right? You know, stay rigid and on stuff that matters, right? But bend on the stuff that doesn't. And you'll often find that things go better. And sometimes you'll learn that they may have actually been right, and their way of doing it is better than what you were used to. Um, so thank you guys very much for joining us. 25 errors and 104 warnings. It's going to be a long night. Ciao. Um, that's rough, man. I do find some of this stuff very zen. So if you don't feel like doing that all night, maybe I'll find some time over the weekend. If you send me some linter errors to clean up, I'll clean up some stuff to help you out, because that's a lot of stuff to do. But thank you guys for joining, and thank you guys for listening to me talk about linters for 2 hours. Right? We got a little bit in the weeds, fixing some stuff, causing some more problems. Probably shouldn't have gone strict, but mostly any and non-null assertion. Dude, non-null assertion is the bane of my existence. I absolutely hate like so let's say we've got this type, and we'll say we'll call it nullish hell, right? We'll say this can be null or undefined, or a string, right? And then we've got this const, right? And yeah, exactly. TypeScript or Copilot knows where I'm going to go, right? Because now we're going to take this function and we're going to say use nullish hell, right? And this is going to take test, that's a string, and it's going to return a string, right? And we will just say, hey, we're going to return yeah, perfect, right? So now we've got this function, and you know what? We're going to use it, and oh no, right? It's broken. Okay, we'll fix it. Boom. Oh, it didn't let me do that. Okay, so right, it tells me no non-null assertion. Great. Okay, my code's fixed. Let's move on, right? This is the bane of my existence, right? Because oftentimes it's not so cut and dried that this is null, right? Or this is undefined, right? Very, very often it is not this cut and dry, right? That you can see it right away that, oh no, something happened. That is why I love this rule. The people that don't love it will disable it, right? But what's the real way to do this? Well, you can just say, hey, I've got a function, and I can just say, well, sometimes you can do this, right? Not nullish. And here you can just take in test, and this will be of type nullish hell, right? And we're going to return test is string, right? So now all we need to do is just return test does not equal null, right? And if we want this to work, all we have to do is we just say, hey, if this is not that, then this, right? And we're good. And that, and the thing I love about WebStorm is it turns it green, telling you, hey, you've narrowed the type here, right? Because it used to be these and these. and a string, but you narrowed it to it's just a string. The other cool thing is that now in TypeScript, TypeScript 5.5, we can just say, we can just say nullish hell does not equal null, and we're fine, right? And if we turn this into a factory, right? So it equals this that returns this, right? Oh, I was hoping it would work. um, well, and it is specifically the null that it called out as being what wouldn't work. So here, if we say string, right? And now we've got to do a typo and all this stuff, right? But with TypeScript 5.5, you can narrow some of your stuff. It won't work. It won't work with some of our factories, right? But oh, it's no longer a function, right? So use your type guards, and with the typing and stuff. Yeah, and there's the rub, right? That Chow is talking about. There are legit cases to nullify things. Absolutely, Chow. I agree with that. Garbage collection is a good call out there. And the developer experience. So when you're developing libraries, like in my code bases that I like to work in, I will absolutely fight you if you put an any in my code, right? That it's going to make me angry. But we're not developing libraries, right? Typically, the stuff that I develop is not a library. It's not going out to a ton of people and things like that. And so I can be a little bit strict, and I can say, don't put any there. If you don't know what it is, make it unknown, right? Don't put an any there. Don't just say it's unknown, right? So that, like here, if I do this, right, we don't care anymore, right? Because now we've got an any. And so it could be anything, right? But if I just add an unknown, right? And here I just say, hey, this is that, and type of test is a string, right? So now I can rename this from being not nullish to is string, right? And right away, by changing any to unknown, type of unknown is not assignable to type string, right? So we've instantly fixed that up. And now with our type guard, we can just say, hey, if it's a string, and test can now be of type unknown, right? Because we don't care about the type anymore. But now we've narrowed it. We know it's a string, right? Is string tells us that it's a string. Make sure that your type guards work properly and that you test them, right? But with proper uses of type guards, you can make your code much more runtime safe. And so if we go back to where we were, and then I'm going to end the stream, right? Um, let's go back to live, right? Um, just think about this for a second, right? Because this assertion is perfectly legit code. But which code base would you rather support? Would you rather support this one or the one that uses type guards, right? This one gives us type safety at runtime, and it forces us to consider things, right? It the place where this one's going to fall on its face is in performance, right? So this versus this is far more performant, right? Because this is just a method call, right? When it comes down to it, this this exclamation point goes away once this is transpiled, right? It's basically us saying, yeah, TypeScript, you don't know anything. I know this won't be, null or undefined. Trust me, bro, right? That's what this means. And so we've got one function call. Here, this is slower, right? Because we've got the branch on the if. We've got the function call here that also runs, another test before we ever call this, right? But which code base would you rather support? And that's my rant on non-null assertion, right? Um, and again, Chow is in a different world because he's working in libraries, and with libraries, you have to do things that quite often I would tell you not to do, right? But the reason that I would tell you not to do it is because you're maintaining like enterprise level code, and you want to come back to that code in 6 months and go, oh man, I'm so glad I wrote it this way. You don't want to get a phone call in 5 months at 2 a.m. The website's down, what's going on, right? So yeah, if you if you have function overloads that do not accept any arguments, right? Problem with unknown is again unknown array doesn't work as well as any array. Well, and that's the yeah. There are always exceptions to the rule. And when I say I will fight you, I'm mostly joking, right? Um, what I will do is I will flag and I'll be like, hey, why are you using any here? What type could we use rather than any? And if you come back to me like, dude, nothing really works, right? I tried a whole bunch of different stuff. We just have to deal with any. Then we'll stop worrying about the any, and we'll start worrying about, okay, how do we protect our application from this any, right? Because any it infects everything. And to Chow's point, there are good reasons. An array of any behaves much better than an array of unknown. Um, yeah, and function overloads. Yeah, there's always good reasons to. Um, there's always good reasons, exceptions to every rule, which is, why I try to get away from saying never do this or I always do this. Because as soon as I say something like that, somebody like Chow comes out and they're like, yeah, dude, no, this doesn't work in this instance, right? Yeah. And that's the other thing, is that um, as a maintainer, Chow gets to make a lot of decisions that, you know, and and as you move up in companies, you get to make decisions about things like that too, right? Where, yeah, we're going to be a little bit less strict, um, because we can trust this group, right? Or yeah, we're going to be a little bit less strict because really the trade-off, like fixing the trade-off, is much worse than the actual problem, right? And so it's it's engineering. There's always trade-offs, and is the cost of the problem, um, you know more expensive than the cure, then you should probably take the cure, right? Or is the cost of the cure more expensive than the problem? Then you should really think about, is the cure worth it, right? Um, Putting my kid to bed. Would love to chat more about types. Hey, I would, dude. I will come on your stream. You're welcome to come on my stream. I would love to do a collab stream where we just talk about types, because you can do some really stupid stuff with types, and I think the two of us have. Let's do it. Um, Reach out to me. I was gonna say I will reach out to you, but the way my weeks have been going, my memory is about this long. So reach out to me. We'll set something up. You guys heard it right here. Chow and I will be doing a collab where we're going to break the type system. So we'll talk to y'all later. You guys have a good night. I need to end. Thank you for being here, everybody. Thank you, Michael, for your good comments, and Chow. Thank you for just for everything. We'll talk to you guys.